present it out there.
All right, Rex, we're recording.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the August 9th, 2022 Management Committee agenda. We've got Steve Cundiff calling in, myself, Rex Eberly, calling in, and then we've got JJ, Marty, and Julie in the great room, along with Chaz and Andy. We've got some guests, Linda and Annie. Are they both there? I couldn't see them.
Linda is here. Annie should be dialing in.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll get
There she-
started and bring them in as it is in the agenda. Okay, Andy, are you ready for your general manager's report?
Yep, sure am.
Okay,
All right, I wanted to just go briefly over some of our current projects that we're working on here. The Lodge Electrical, and I think Marty's going to elaborate on that. But just want to give you some updates. We did have a meeting in July to review the Lodge Electrical drawings and the timeline. The contractor is going to provide us with cost estimates and a timeline of availability of the equipment by August 19th for review, and next scheduled meeting is August 30th. Again, Marty will discuss more in the management team tonight, just how we're going about the project and some ideas and so forth. And we're currently on schedule. The Lodge roof project. The Lodge roof, we've become aware that it's showing some signs of wear. The maintenance team is aware of these issues. And we're just in the beginning stages of this project, setting up the scope and budgets for this. Asphalt patching, I'll go into this a little bit more in detail, a little bit further in the agenda, but I want you to make aware that the maintenance team has installed currently to date 156 tons of patching material, asphalt patching material in the hills. And again, I'll relay that more information as the agenda goes on. They've hit a lot of different spots and so forth, so they're currently working on that diligently. Again, I'll go over the RFID project a little bit more in detail, but members, their decals are ready. They've been ready the whole month of July. Down there at the security building, make an appointment only. Now, family guests are available. The decals are now available by appointment only down there at security. So make an appointment, get those installed, and then I'll go over the tentative go live date with you a little bit further. And then we're working on an asset management project. This tree inventory project has begun for Highway Hills Club, club space, golf course, the right of way for the roads, as well as ACC tree inspections. The Adopt a Area Committee has had an initial training with myself regarding how to capture this data, and we're using this web-based tree inventory software. If you want to learn more about this, please contact me and get involved, volunteer, learn more about this project as it moves forward. Then lastly, I just want to again emphasize, as I probably do every meeting, and that is the safety. Safety on our roads, safety on our lakes. Make sure that we're staying at the posted speed limit or under down on the lakes as well. We do continue to get complaints about people speeding on the lakes. Just need to be very cautious of our surroundings and just slow it down and have some fun. Don't want any accidents. And that's all I have right now. I'll have more as the agenda unfolds.
I've got a couple questions, if you don't mind. Where are we with our lake patrol? Frequency, dates, are those dates being met? Are they there when we?
So they have, that's a good question. They are lake patrol is on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And on Thursdays, it's not as busy, but they do um, dock inspections and so forth, buoy inspections, that kind of thing. Fridays and Saturdays, they're out on the lake, monitoring traffic, giving warnings out, talking to members, especially about speed. And I know there's Al on our Lakes Committee, or no, Al and our security is the one that's in control. Sometimes he's teamed up with Randall, especially if it's a busy holiday weekend or there's events happening and so forth. And Sunday they do more inspections, safety inspections on docks and so forth. So that's been the going thing here throughout the summer. It's Thursday through Sunday.
So, and so have we been hitting each one of those days?
Yes, we have.
Okay, so it's not where somebody calls in sick. We're not prepared.
We're security is prepared to go ahead and make arrangements if someone's calling sick. They haven't had that. It's been Al primarily, and then Randall and maybe Cash will go out there if it's a little bit so forth. So that don't know the exact hours. I know that it probably starts about probably noon and goes on till about 8 o'clock over 6 o'clock.
Is there a certain protocol as to what areas they're watching? I mean, and the reason why I ask is because, I was out there all day Sunday and I didn't see anything.
I know that when I talked to Randall about this, their schedule and stuff, they mentioned that again they do dock inspections and so forth on the non-busy days, like Thursday and sometimes Sunday. Sometimes Sunday can be very, very busy. It's hit or miss with the weather, but they do those inspections quite regularly and so forth. And it's usually an 8-hour period that they do that. So I can find out more information about their actual times on the lake and so forth. But yes.
Yeah, I mean, with the complaints, we just need to make sure we're getting our marks. And I believe it was, you said pre-inventory project. Okay, is that something you guys initiated and voted on? And
It was under the $5,000 limit, so I initiated that.
I wasn't talking about financially. I was talking about the process.
The process that I for the tree inventory, I originally talked to the golf course committee. They were concerned about many of the trees that are on the course and dying out and so forth. So I met with Eric Borsko on that and some other team members.
So it's just an offer.
It's the golf course and it's also the green space, like the front entryway, around the lodge, around the clubhouse, those areas. And also for tree inspection. Right away. Yeah. Thank you.
So what value does that bring?
It's gonna, we're really gonna know what our inventory is like here on the hills.
We got a bunch of trees that are gonna fall.
Especially on the golf course itself. We went into that survey heavily as far as the concern of the trees, and health, especially the blue spruce, white pine, and so forth. Had a lot of storm damage. And there are some trees that are diseased. We're looking for a long-term.
So
Andy,
there's a number of trees that are marked out there
Correct.
on the golf course. I'm not taking if those are ones that are marked for removal.
Correct.
Why aren't they down yet?
We're waiting on contractors. So we've got 3 quotes right now from some tree service people. Which contractor go with. But some of those quotes are pretty high.
Yeah.
And
Are you
so,
gonna share those with us?
yeah. The golf course committee went ahead and made that initiation. So just,
But they're not paying for it.
no, not this coming.
So can you forward those over?
Yes, absolutely.
Hey gang, this is Annie. I'm not trying to interrupt you, but we really can't hear what you're talking about because you're not speaking into your mics. None of
Sorry.
you.
Sorry. Other questions?
thanks, Andy. I was about to say something too.
Yes.
Yeah, the roof, you said the roof project.
Right.
What does that mean?
So we've got a couple areas where it's heating on the roof itself. That's on the front here. Maintenance. Contacted me it was last week, beginning of last week. We looked at it and we're gonna have a contractor to take a look at the heating that's happening. It's not vented, so the roof is, yeah, the structure is. So we're in the beginning stages of assessing that. And then deciding how we're gonna go about it from a budget standpoint. So we're gonna keep it in. There'd be myself.
Question,
Yes,
didn't know how else to do that. I could raise my hand, but you guys won't see the hand going up. On the lake patrols, Andy, had they been fruitful? I know one of the things in the past with our limited dock space and a long waiting list, there was a lot of interest over the years of making sure that our docks are being utilized for what they're for. Do you have any kind of update on that? Are boats sitting in docks being utilized, or are they just sitting there?
I believe that they're being utilized, not just sitting there. I think we've had a few, a handful that were just sitting there and they made notice to the office that they needed to, they're not being used. But for the most part, there's still a long waiting list, as people know. And they are being utilized, to my knowledge.
Well, I know they were looking into it. That's why I haven't talked to anybody to see if they've revealed anything or a report of any type. I just hadn't seen anything, and I just wondered because that topic does come up every year after summer and winter comes around. People want to know where they're on the list, so that's why I was checking. On the second piece of my question, how much time are we spending on the trees, the tree management program?
We haven't had to spend a whole lot of time. We just started that. Got it in July, part of July. So I've worked with the Adopt the Area Committee last week on it. And I've done some myself as well, inventory on the golf course. So I've spent very little time on it right now, but we're gathering the data, and as we gather more and more data, we can offer reports to the management committee, board of trustees on our diversity, on work orders that we need to put out as far as maintenance of these trees, especially in the right of ways or golf course or just our green spaces. So that's where we are right now.
It's a good project. I was just wondering, what time are we consuming? Is that something that's going to pick up? It'll go down? Is this something maintenance will take over, or golf committee, or what is the long range plan on that?
The nice thing about this is that anybody can use this web-based software. So it's just a little bit of training. We've already got user IDs for Adopt a Area Committee. We had a committee of about 4 or 5 people that initially started it, and we trained them last week on it. And anybody can do it. So I think overall, what we'll end up doing once we collect all this data is to actually train our maintenance staff and our golf course staff and so forth to use this. It's a good tool for myself as well, doing tree inspection, especially in road right of ways, and that for ACC projects and stuff too. So once we gather more data and we can gain some reports and stuff too, I think it will be very useful for the hills. Any other questions, Steve?
Nope, I'm good. Thanks. Appreciate it.
So you've got everything else is that we've originally or is in motion is moving and being taken care of before we take on a tree inventory project?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I need.
Yep, we're working many different projects, many different areas. Yeah. Okay, I think we're good.
Okay, thank you. So now we've got the funds, the capital and depreciation, Julie, and then the finances for Julie and Andy.
Or you want
Yeah.
me to go through the
Um,
capital?
How about you go to the capital and depreciation? And I'll go through
Okay.
those things.
So, basically, by the end of 7/31, we will have 511,641 in the balance. We have committed funds of 166, and we have proposed funds to be spending of 57. Future deposits of 140, which should leave us with a balance at the end of the year of 428, which is a really healthy capital budget. We have a kind of a something, if anything happened, potential items of 20,000 that could come out, make us what, 408. And the floor, we'd like to keep that at this point is about 305,000. Have any questions on that?
What's the difference between the 20K and other potential items? And 130K
That's just kind of-
contingency?
The proposed and the committed are, we have items listed for those. The 20 is some, kind of we need to spend an extra 20, it's there.
That is the true rainy day, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of a
Marty.
rainy day fund.
Out of the, say everything goes as planned,
Yeah,
out of the year-end balance of 428,
right.
where 103 of that is in contingency, so that's the most we'll have. We won't have 531.
No.
Okay.
The most, I mean, if we, as everything goes as planned, we will end the year at 428.
Okay.
Julie, do you know, I think I saw somewhere, and maybe it was last month when I looked through the finances, that there was a list of things that involved the committed and proposed funds.
Uh-huh.
You know, if the basketball court work was in there, I
It
saw
is,
it.
it's under the other potential.
Okay.
So I said that wrong. There are a couple things. You've got a silt pond control in the basketball court.
Yeah. I just remember seeing it.
Yeah.
And so that, the good thing is that that gives us, with us having to inspect the roof, that means the roof isn't going to be in an emergency. So that's a great thing. It might be painful, but it's not going to be an emergency.
Hey, Julie,
Yes.
just like we talked the other day, I just wanted to bring it up for the whole group since it was just basically me talking about it. Just not to micromanage, to look at expenses, every nickel dime spent, but could we just get a report every month that shows what we brought in versus what we spent? Total spend out, employees, insurance, gasoline, fuel, oil, asphalt, whatever it is. Just so we can kind of help members kind of track it on a month-to-month basis.
There is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, when you get the P&L statement that comes out on a monthly, it kind of lists that. Now, one of the things that we'll have for the next meeting, and I think we talked about this, gonna go similar to what we've done here with the capital and the depreciation. We're gonna do this with the operating funds. So we will have a 12-month cash flow analysis so that we'll be able to see not only just looking at your budget, but here's what we're going to end the month in our operating account. And here's what we anticipate we'll be spending, so, like your payroll, taxes, all those things, to kind of show you each month what that operating account will look like. So if we ever, never, but if we ever to run into an issue, we should know well in advance, like 6 to 8 months in advance, that there might be some things we need to address now.
I guess, Andy, what can we do to get the financials sent out more promptly? I mean, we got in June that we got at the end of July. And by this meeting, we should have July's numbers already.
So that's always kind of been an issue. When we talked to Penny about it, she sends actually she was sending it today, I believe, July's
Yeah.
to the for audit. And we usually don't get it back until usually get maybe towards the first.
Andy, could you turn towards your mic, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Or just move your mic if you're going to look at them. That's cool
All
too.
right, so, just to kind of recap, Penny sends that off about the beginning to the middle of the month, as far as last month's financials, to the accountants, where they audit it and take a look at it, and then they send it back to us, usually for a timely manner. She was gonna send that out today, for July's, so that's why we're not getting them.
So is there a reason why we can't get pre-audited numbers?
We could probably do a draft, you know,
We
that's
talked about
pre-audited,
it,
and we talked about that today, where
Yeah.
we could get a draft and go over those financials. They wouldn't be, you know, rubber stamp.
No,
they would be-
But I mean, if we see something in June and we're sitting here in the middle of August, it's a little late.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And I think the other thing that you will be able to do with, we talked to Penny today about, let's get the draft. So as soon as she's done with it, let's get that draft so we can look at it. The other piece that you can do quicker, you might not have the details of everything, but very quickly you can, we know what the balance in the operating account is. So we know what the balance as of July 31st are. We can then very quickly say, okay, it won't be a true P&L, but what it will tell you is your cash flow. So we could, don't, but we could have, and starting next month, we'll be able to talk about August cash flow. And then we may not, hopefully Penny will have done and we can see some highlights there, but we may not have the audited financials. But I think if we can get to the point where we're doing this 12-month cash flow, that'll be something very easy to put together so we can look and see, well, wait a minute, well, why was this so much different? So similar.
I think that's important for us, but I don't know. General membership are not accountants, nor mine. I don't understand, but we've all balanced budgets over the years. And, as we start off in marriage, we have a limited budget and we spend what we can. And as you get in later in life, if you play your cards right, but we still look at a budget. And I just think for everybody in the openness and transparency that we've, promised the membership is, and again, it can be published as a non-certified, proven by auditors yet, but just that, not an income statement. We need to know what comes in and what goes out every month. And as long as we're always in the black, then we're good. So.
I think, Steve, that is kind of what your cash flow is going to do. You're just going to be able to get that on a more timely manner than putting a P&L together. So I think so I think we're talking the same thing.
Well, let's see what we can get put together next month. And I just want to be open with this. Like I say, we're healthy. We've been unhealthy. And I know we have this amount of money we hope to set on at the end of the year. But as we all know, we're one away from doing this. We have long range planning for lake maintenance, golf course maintenance, and we're not chiming any of these things into here. So I just don't want membership to think we're just sitting on, $300,000 waiting for something to happen.
Right.
As we get into the long range planning a little bit more, I know we're starting into that process, but it's just, we can spend money pretty quick. Right, Chaz, on a dam?
Well, yeah, and I think like I said, and we'll look at it next month and you
Super.
can get your thoughts. But I think we're talking the same thing.
Julie, I think that section, that income expense report that's at the top of of Penny's report, again, like you said, that definitely could be put out as pre-audit. And so for June, you know, and it does, Steve, it does show that we had a cash loss in June of about $6,200, but and so that's kind of why we started looking at it as soon as that came out. But for the year, we're cash positive. I think it's what, $344,000. So
Yeah. And no, that's super.
yeah.
I'm
And so,
happy
I
we're
mean,
there.
So that's the number I think you're looking for, Steve, and I think it probably could be done pre-audit as well. Like Julie says, that can be a pretty quick number just looking at the checking accounts.
Well, with inflation and everything, there's no way that a budget was ever planned for what we're experiencing now. And, you know, I doubt that anybody thinks this is going to go away next month. So
Nope.
that's just always my thought. It's just
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, that's,
perfecto. Good job,
thank
guys.
you, Julie. And then I guess we got depreciation.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate it. So depreciation kind of along those same lines. We will end July with 419,000. We have spent 174 so far. We have committed funds of 91 and proposed of 5,200. We still have deposits we need to make in there of 133. Then you have some other potential funds. And again, we should end the year at 408,000, which again is above what we want to be on the balance.
So under committed funds, we've got two fairway numbers, without one showing up.
Nope. I'm going to that.
Right, and then I thought we did buy a new freezer. For a month. Shouldn't that get done?
Which should be approved after
So it was an
Purchase,
actual.
gonna be purchased.
Can't hear you again, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that actually got into purchase, so that should be done.
And there's times we just have to, we'll have to take a look at, if you look at, sometimes you might not have wrote the check by the end of July. But we should have on that one.
Yeah, but if
so.
we've already received it.
Yeah. If you've already received it, it's not gonna show up, not necessarily gonna show up as purchase until you write the check for it. Because it's sitting in the balance.
Okay.
So you, again, you haven't written a check, so it's still gonna be, you know, if you take it, it's still committed. We've got it, we've got to pay for it, we have it. Yeah. So that's, sometimes you have a timing issue with something.
Any other questions on the depreciation?
I'm sorry, was there a question?
No, I'm just checking. Yeah.
So.
Right.
All right.
Can you guys hear me? My internet's messing up.
Yeah.
Okay. Andy, one thing on the depreciation coming up in the next, and I can't remember if we have it in 24 or 25 or 23, but the big animal is a dump truck. And I think as we go much further on that depreciation fund, you need to get with Rick and get a real good evaluation of that dump truck. And I mean, obviously you can't ever plan for everything, but that's kind of that big elephant sitting on that. And if it's determined that has to be.
You still there, Rex? I'm going to go in a little bit into our operating budget. Talk about any other questions about depreciation. Okay. If we look at our operating budget.
Okay, I think I'm back.
Hey, you're back. All right, Julie and I and Penny were talking today about our operating budget, and some of the things that we noticed. One was there's two risks right now that we're looking at in our operating budget. Number one is new member fees. This is obviously very difficult to predict. When we met, sometimes that's just it's just something very hard to predict. We don't know who's going to be a new member here, if they're a member already, they're not paying member fees, so forth. So that's a risk for our operating budget. Another risk is there's no new property to sell. In our operating budget right now, in August, is another 18 grand that was budgeted for, and we currently don't have any more properties for sale. So that's something that needs to be looked at. Probably on the board of trustees.
How do we budget for something we don't have?
So we originally had 6 properties for sale. 2 of those properties sold in June, I believe.
And we received the funds in
Yeah, we
July.
received the funds in July. And then then there was 4 other ones that were pulled off from being sold. Board of trustees pulled that off. And so it's currently sits at a state where we have no more lots for
Did they,
sale.
did they notify us that they were pulling those off and that we need to do a different budget?
Yeah, it was public knowledge. It was voted on in open session during a board meeting.
Yeah, but that's close business. We should be sent correspondence on that.
Yeah, I
I
think,
mean, we don't all always watch the board meeting. So,
Understood. At the very least, it's an explainable variance.
no, but it's also maybe explainable, but it's also something that we can talk about.
Like I said, I understand. And I'll make sure that we'll go back up through our notes and look at who almost notified.
Yeah. We're looking-
and I think that it was just the coming together of that and what was sitting in the budget.
Right.
That's the thing that was, that the budget had money in there, and if we were to sell them, and we can't. So we just need to make sure going forward, we're safe.
Well, and let's face it, it doesn't mean they were sold.
No,
No, I get it.
no,
Yeah.
yep.
Sorry, this is Annie, guys. Just to be clear, I don't think the sale of club lots was really that big in our budget. What has been different in our budget is how many new members have been sold. But if you look
Right,
at the
right.
June numbers that we received, sorry, I'm talking Marty. When I look at the June numbers year to date, we're still in the positive. So I don't think, even though on that line item, we're not seeing what we expected in the budget, we're still in the black.
Yeah, you're.
May I please speak? Thank you. My question and comment about that was not necessarily about the money, but about the communication. And
Duly noted.
that's, Chaz has answered that, so.
Any other questions about risk? I've got some opportunities now where we can have some savings in our operation budget. And there's actually 3 opportunities that we identified. One was in linen expenses, where we think we get potential savings of $14,000 per year. Another one was supplies, with a $15,000 a year potential savings. And then the last one was a miscellaneous item. Don't like miscellaneous items in budgets, but we're looking at potentially a 30K potential savings opportunity here. And then one of the things that we're really keeping an eye on, payroll is our largest expense. And year over year, we are down on payroll expenses. However, where we are up is our security, because we're short-handed. So you'll notice that in the budget where their numbers are a lot higher due to overtime. But if you look at maintenance, broken down to maintenance, we're actually not break even. So again, it's something that we're watching, close eye on, and just to give you opportunities, realize that we're watching the budget.
And then
Can you elaborate more on this $30,000 of savings?
See, we had in the budget, there was 30,000 that was budgeted for miscellaneous. And we don't have anything going into that. We're not, so we're either picking it up somewhere else. But at this point, we don't see spending that 30,000. So
But we're really not saving anything. We're just not spending
Well,
on
that's-
an amount that's not being funded.
I think it's one. Oh,
Well, but that'll be an increase of cash at the end of the year if everything else stays the same. So yeah, it's either a savings or an increase in cash. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, it could
Well, I
be
thought
eaten
she
up.
said it
You're right,
wasn't
Steve,
funded.
that, yeah, well, that 30,000, no, it's funded in the budget. It's not, there's no. Basically, it's some extra room in the budget, which is probably a good thing to do.
yes. And then the other thing that that we're gonna start doing on a monthly basis is get with the restaurant, Aaron, JJ, and Justina and Chris to kind of go through every month what the budget was, what they spent, get a good understanding of what their margins are. Or, you know, help them get a good understanding. So, and then so we can make sure we're staying on target there. So that'll be a monthly meeting that we'll be setting up. And then, any questions on the numbers at this point? One more thing. Going once. All right, so the other thing that we're gonna start doing in September is we're gonna begin working on our budget for 2023. So utilizing what has happened to date and really kind of sync that up with our cash flow so that to build a budget and not have not keep in mind that you have to have the money to spend. So this is just going to make sure, and that's where the big thing I was talking with the cash flow, so we can ensure that, you know, we're really good going into 2023.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So started a little earlier.
Will we do the same thing for golf course and maintenance and security as you're
They're all
doing
gonna be
for
part
food
of the budget.
services?
Yeah,
All part of the budget. So yeah,
But they're still going to be together. You're not going to pull those out and have a monthly discussion and look at those like you are with food service.
not at this point, no.
Okay.
Very good. I hope that review for the next year's budget, I think Andy and Julie have seen there's some expense codes in there that maybe don't make sense anymore, and maybe we can work with the accountant to clean those up. And not saying we'll have less expense codes, but they may be different. So, but nice work. Any other financial questions on that end? Okay. We are, let's see here, I got to clear that up. We are ready for the management software presentation from Annie and Julie. Are you guys ready?
Yeah. Andy, just so you know, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen of the PowerPoint presentation.
Thanks, Andy.
You wanna, you got the mic, Linda, you want to start, or you want me to start? First off, I want to say a big thank you to Annie, who has been leading this for How long now, Annie?
Over 2 years.
Yeah, so she has put a lot of work and documented quite a bit of really nice stuff, so thank you, Annie. I've been
I agree
involved
with
in a
that.
lot of things, and I'll tell you what, this is one that, has been like, has tons of documentation around it, so.
Yeah, I'll actually, I was on the team, and I'll share with you in a second who the team was. I just kind of pulled everything together and put it in kind of a story format that we can follow. You guys know most of this, and I'm going to take a ton of time, but we've grown a lot, and our systems have not always kept pace with that. We currently have 600 plus package deliveries a week, 11 to 1,200 during holidays. Visitor guest call-in where security has to answer the phone, who you are, what your security code is. I called Randall, they got 40 calls yesterday for that. And he said that was a super slow day. During holiday time, they averaged 250 calls on a holiday weekend. We've got limited historical document tracking or retrieval, just as a quick example. We've got concerns about the lakes now. So I wondered, my question was, do we have more vehicles registered in the hills now, watercraft, than we did 3 years ago, 5 years ago? So I went to the office to ask the question. We don't know. They only keep it for the prior year. So there's no tracking, there's no historical info. We have no emergency notification system, as many of us will remember, based on the ice storm. Pretty static, underutilized website, and no real-time calendar updated monthly events. So these are the kinds of things that a technology platform can do for us. Logging packages, automatically letting people know. Members will be able to register their guests online. Security then gets that. More timely communication, will be able to offer email, text, and voice. So in lieu of our e-blast, plus if we ever have an emergency, we can blast people with all three of those at the same time. Workflow that will help with ACC, which is a super time-consuming piece for the office. Member directory documents, information can all be stored out there. You can opt into some of that, you can opt out. Members can update some of the information themselves, asset management, shift logs, vehicle registration, work order management capabilities, and ultimately payments, which interestingly, when I was running for the board last year, we did a meet and greet. The most frequently asked question I got was, why can't we pay online? Because we're getting younger people moving in to the hills and they just pay everything online. So that was the most frequent question I got. Here was the team. I had a couple of members. Annie, me, Chaz was involved in a lot, Julie, Rex, Andy, and then we also got input from all of the staff organizations.
Excuse me, Linda?
Yeah.
Your slides, I don't think are switching online unless it's just mine that's frozen. Steve, are you seeing them change?
Nope.
Yep, yeah.
You hit share, right, Andy?
I mean, I can see, I see the original, but I'm not seeing them switch.
I think you just have to advance to the next slide. Maybe,
Get the,
honestly, she's
arrow
probably
down
on
there.
slide 3, yeah.
Yeah, use that. Are they advancing now?
Not yet.
Just get out of the presentation mode and go with it.
Yeah, you can do that.
So Linda, what we're seeing is the presenter slides. If it's easier just to show it as normal, that's fine.
You good now?
Yeah, we're on
There you go.
the
That's
team
fine.
slide. Yep.
Yep. Okay, good. Okay, so there are like 15 vendors out there who do this kind of work. We looked at all of them initially. Based on what we need, we got down to a group of 4 pretty quickly. The rest of them just can't meet our needs. We did vendor demos, committees rating on a 5-point scale. I'll tell you the criteria in a second. Narrowed it down to 3. And then we vetted them a lot. I don't know how many calls we had with these vendors, a lot.
Yeah.
Vetted them on all of the details, the company, customer base, what their support plan is, which is really important, what their training plan is like, and then security and privacy. Finally got it down to 2 finalists, which were condo control and ONR. We then did reference checks with customers, and we also did a cost comparison between those 2. And finally, our recommendation is, after a lot of talking about this,
Yeah.
because they were close, was to go with condo control is our recommendation. Yeah.
You know, let's see.
Oh, yeah.
The two between condo control and ONR. ONR was a younger company, more of a startup. They've only been around for 4 years. Condo control has been around for 20.
I've got some data on them.
Yeah.
But that was one of the reasons why we looked at condo control more than ONR. And the name is deceiving because we're not condos here, but work with us.
A lot of these software packages are developed around condos.
They are, but they're not. In fact, in our references, we wanted people more like us to talk to, so we did.
You know, when
And no, not no.
Yeah, yeah.
Therein lies truth. But we also asked him actually about the name. It's like, guys, we wish your name wasn't condo control, but that's where they started. And you all know if you change your company name, it costs you $1 zillion to do that.
And ONR also, when we went for references, every reference that they gave us, they only were either using one module of the software, so we weren't getting a really good, like, you know, so we had, I think at one point we said, okay, we can be like their guinea pig. And we'll
Yeah,
probably
you'll be
bet we'll be
test
able,
site.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then you'll be able to make it how you want it, but there's a big risk in that, so you'll be glad to know.
We got that flavor that we would be a test.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And we even talked, we said, you know, you'll be able maybe to, they'll be able to design this for you, but at the same point, that risk outweighs.
We also had primarily one location.
Yeah,
and
So
that was not the location that
we were,
concerned about a little bit.
I would. so anyway.
So this is the evaluation criteria that we looked at. We looked at everything we and the members involved could think of, from email to vehicle registration for the office, the website, meeting recordings. We could do surveys and voting through this platform if we want to. For members, we looked at online payments, contact information, amenity booking, which is really cool because right now you have to call Penny and say, is the Great Room booked for such and such a date? That would all be in real time. Security, package handling, the big piece of it, visitor management, incident violation reporting, which we could really get more documentation on. Maintenance, the asset management work order, ACC, again, a big chunk of time from the office and from the ACC committee and from members who are building. But when we could do permit requests, documentation, we have a workflow over time that we go back and see where anybody is in the process. And then the board meeting minutes, Article 9, fines issued, we have a record of that. And for committees, meeting calendars and even meeting notes. You don't have to use all of that, but that's what we were going through to say, can you accommodate all of these things if we want them? I don't have the date that they started. We got that and can get it to you, but condo control, they're in 9 states, 3 countries, 2,000 clients, 5,000 users. And they've got experience that spans from a property with 6 units to a property with 4,000 units. Full-time support on technical issues, live phone support, ticketing, dedicated customer service manager to us. 99, this was impressive, 99% uptime, no major outage in the last 13 years, which for software, if you work, that's impressive. Cloud-based using Microsoft, so we don't buy the software, we're using in the cloud. And then we really got really good user references and they gave us a list of people and they were quite honest with us and we asked them a lot of tough questions.
We actually had interviews with.
We had interviews with them,
Yeah.
yeah. Wait, it wasn't in writing, we talked to them. This is obviously going to be an issue, the onboarding and training. Typically, and they said this depends on how many documents we need to upload, our database, how complex it is, but usually for the office, and they would train others that we wanted to be trained. So could be the management committee, could be the board. We can tell them who we would like to be administrators of this and assign that, usually 2 to 4 weeks. They used to do it live pre-COVID, and now they're pretty much using a training platform on Zoom. They said they might go back live at some point, but my guess is, like most businesses, not likely. They have webinars, they have a user discussion forum, talk with other people. The other interesting thing they said, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, is I think upgrades that they do are free,
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
included in our licensing agreement.
included in the agreement. And they said if enough users request something, they tend to bill it. But they wouldn't do it just for one client. But if multiple users want something, they have in the past built applications for that.
They have kind of a list of requests from their users, and they try to accommodate those based on the number and volume that they receive with that.
They were really responsive to us. Would you guys
Yeah.
agree? I mean, we called them, they gave us all the info. They were really helpful. The people we worked with were super knowledgeable.
I would say too, they weren't
a salesperson. And trying to pressure us, and by the end of the month, you gotta get this. They're very patient with us, and they knew that we were going to go through this process, so.
It was not entirely true of everyone that we talked to who told us what was wrong with the others.
Linda, one quick question. What do we envision being our existing database and documents to be uploaded? Would it be our intent to scan and upload everything that we currently have in our files, member information?
And so what we currently have is an access database for all that information. That's been scanned. Most everything has been scanned in. So they would work off that access database and export it. And then we would still have that access database. That's kind of viable here. That's all the information we have. So the office is a little leery of letting that go. But we would have that, and then any documents and so forth. So it would be all in the cloud and secure. That was one thing that we had said, is this information secure? We don't want it getting out to, being hacked or other members getting hold of it. And there are different administrative rights and so forth.
So is it our intent to cut over from access database to the new system?
Eventually, not initially, but eventually.
Well, I probably want to parallel things, but I mean, I just don't know that we need to continue to use access database.
I agree with you, Chaz, but some of the stuff we use that access database for aren't things that we were looking to replace with this solution. The stuff that this solution offers are things that access database doesn't offer, like the visitor registration, the package handling, the ACC workflow. That's stuff that our access database doesn't do today. And so these are things that we would be augmenting really with this solution, not really looking to replace that database.
Okay, so
And I think they will keep our data, we own the data, they don't own the data, and they will keep it, isn't that right, Annie, until we tell them not to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
And they said it's about 30 days from onboarding to implementation, and I'll talk about that in a second. This is not a flip a switch, go live by any means. This is a much longer process. We would recommend certainly a phased implementation, maybe starting with these things like The website, we're hopefully we can get more traction and communication if we can update that more frequently. If it's more interactive too. We saw some of the websites that they had created, and it's, you know, ours, you go look at it, it's basically paper online. So making that more interactive, the visitor registration, package handling, and maybe the ACC workflow initially. You know, we would look at online payments much later. So it would be, and this is just a recommended starting point. We need to talk about that more.
Yeah, and Linda, I would just add that the reason that we started with those is because Andy did a survey of our employees and asked them, like, where do you spend your time? What could we do to help you? And a lot of that came from the office. They take a lot of phone calls, and in particularly right now, the ACC with all the building permits and stuff that's going on, they're spending a lot of time doing that. So we wanted to try to address those things that are consuming a lot of their time.
The cost, one-time setup of $999, and then an annual cost originally would be $14,850. We negotiated with, if we sign a 2-year contract, there's a 12% discount, so it gets it down to a little over
Andy, was
13.
that also like a 2-year contract and we pay it annually as opposed to monthly? Was that where we got the discount, or?
Yeah, so we would only pay that 13,050 this year, and then another 13,000 next year. Separate payments.
And I know everybody's gonna, I would too, want to know, okay, what are you saving? What are you paying? You know, how much can you potentially save? It's hard to get to that entirely right now. You know, we started looking at some of the things we currently pay for, like the SendGrid, which is the email, the e-blast system, Wix, the database. If we need the consultant, it's $150 an hour. They rebuilt it, I think, $7,500. I put in there that paper member directory, which costs us $3,000 every 2 years, although I crossed it out because we didn't get any volunteers to take it over. So I think we'll go to online. Nice thing is, with this platform, we can update that all the time. And I think members can, and they can opt out. You know, that was a discussion before about somebody says, I don't want my data in there. They don't have to be in there. And then some things that I think will be on the horizon, whether we go with a technology platform or not, we got to do something about that website. We got to do something overall about communication, and whether that could be done through volunteers or we'd have to hire an external designer. I don't know.
Didn't we just have somebody come in and take that over and redesign it?
We had, he was a member, but I think he's not anymore. I think he sold his lot here and he did most of that along with Andy. And interestingly, that emergency notification, which I remember from the ice storm and being down here with the generators, and Steve was here at the time. I kind of took a look because schools do that, universities do it, and I thought, how much does that cost? And when I looked, it's everything from, I found 89 cents per user per month to $10 per user per month. Now, if you have kids in college, you know that just gets tacked on to the fees, so it doesn't show up as high as I think it would if you separated it. And then package handling, a year ago in June, Eric Boisco and Ginger did a really nice research on what our options might be. And I went back and looked at that. If we were to lease these Amazon apartment lockers, which was one of the best ideas, that's $32,000 to $56,000, depending on how many we would buy. The other solution was we buy our own lockers. That was a $50,000 price tag plus $350 a month for maintenance. So that just gives you a point of comparison when you look at the cost of this platform, which handles that plus a significant amount more. Annie, anything to add, or Julie?
No, I think I've been adding as I see. Yeah.
I have one last question. Is there any consideration being made towards making sure our employees are capable of using a system? I know that's been a problem in the past, where they were basically incapable of
And that was a good question. That's one of the questions that we did ask the companies that we were interviewing. Because I've been in situations before when I worked at the university where we had, a workforce that didn't really embrace technology. And so we had to have training programs. And what we felt that conduct control could do a really good job of doing that onboarding and that training, especially for employees that may shy away from, some IT stuff. And web-based stuff, but and then also just with my experience of training employees and stuff too, it's going to take some time. I realize that, but I think that we took that into consideration regarding that because we're going to go with baby steps. Phase 1, phase 2, not to throw it all at once and say figure it out because that would just overwhelm and they won't be efficient in the job that they're doing.
As Andy was talking, as during my days at NCR, we trained 7,000 field engineers on the world who used to use wrenches and to repair cash registers and took them all into the electronic age. It takes time, but you get there as long as you've got some patience to do that. Marty, we went through and pulled out the questions you sent, and you want to take time to go through those now? We can.
You don't have to, you've got answers in there.
Most of them. The couple of them that you asked that we didn't have in there, does the ACC workflow engine require an add-on? No, that is a part of the program. I think we got those other ones. It would require security to have a smartphone with the app. That is true. So we need a annual service plan of some kind for that. We got the other two.
So why would the first year be capitalized as opposed to?
So the thought is that this is an investment in the first year as you're building it and you're getting in, it's an investment as you move forward, it would become operating. It's, to be honest, it's a bit of a stretch. It is, because we don't at this point have it in the operating. And we have. and we
Well, I don't
won't.
know, guys. I've worked at a lot of companies where if you invest in a software solution that does something that you don't have capabilities for today, it's considered a capital investment. And that's
Andy,
quite
you're not
frankly
coming
why I
through real
said-
clear.
It's a gray, but you're right. Yeah, it could be.
yeah, I mean, we don't have the ability to do majority of the things this solution brings. So it's not like we're replacing the Access database. We're providing new capabilities that we don't have today, which is a capital investment.
Okay, but we're not owning anything. though. That's the thing, right? That's why I'm questioning the capital because we're not owning anything. We're just kind of using the service. So, and we can work that out. I mean,
That's
without a big-
how most software works today, Marty. And that's quite frankly, I'm
Well,
not
I
trying to be
totally
disrespectful, but
understand,
that's how you want most software to work today. You don't want to be managing servers. You don't want to be managing backups. You
No, I
want
understand.
to do a
understand.
software as a service.
I understand. It's just, what the budget looks like.
It's not tangible. We have the data, but
Yeah.
yeah.
We don't have, yeah.
Why don't you do that again, Andy? I think Marty, you could tell me if you didn't answer everything. 2 years, we talked about that, implementation, training, and comments from the different departments that we talked to that would be most helpful. Email, website, announcements for sure, event planning, booking, payments eventually, packages, visitor passes, and registration and security.
So I guess it was a great presentation and thank you guys for putting in all this hard work on there. And two questions that kind of came up, but one is, and you were talking about the employees and their interaction with this. how is that gonna impact most of the employees outside of the office? How is this system impact them?
I think initially, the only way that it would impact the employees that are outside the office would be insecurity with packaging, handling, the visitor passes and so forth. And then the other thing would be work order or asset management for our maintenance. That could be a little bit confusing. So there's going to be some training in there. But other than that, it's mainly office. And then if we can integrate it with the lodge and clubhouse as well, with our current POS system, potentially. So that's where it would help out. And then again, it's a training, it's a learning curve for anybody. So
And then the last question I have on this. What value does this bring Hideaway Hill? And I'm not talking about, monetary, but what value, how does it make us better by implementing?
I think there's a couple things. One is, I think, response to things will be quicker. So as opposed to making a phone call and somebody happened to look stuff up, things could, if you got a workflow, I need something taken care of, I can put it through and, say my road's a mess or something, I could put something in and say, hey, come look at this, and I don't have to call the office, like put it in, and then I can even track that to see what the process is. The packaging is also another one, like a package comes in. I think the other thing that I think we'll notice is that the office and security will be able to do more for the community than they can today. So we'll be able to expand, like we've been talking with the office and about getting things like P&Ls coming late, those are not as timely as we might like them. Those are things we'll start noticing as a fall that you start getting. And then the communication, go ahead, Linda, like I think that.
When I've looked at these sites and I've looked at the comments and I've been able to go, these platforms do tend to bring the community together more. Now, it may not be everybody because some people may choose not to participate in it, but knowing when things are happening immediately and knowing where you can get your question answered in 2 minutes, as opposed to, I was in the office today and somebody, what are the pool hours? People are asking questions like that. And then you can get news out very quickly about events and changes. So I think that adds a lot of value, and even booking things, the emergency response for sure. I mean, we've had, the ice storm was the big one, but we've had tree snap, and like, I don't know when I'm coming in, if I can't come in or I got to turn around. So I think there will be a lot of community member advantages. It's not just
It's still a matter of people going and logging into the
Yeah.
system versus picking up the phone and calling the office of security. And I mean, it's all according to who all participates.
It is, and we actually asked that question of the people we talked to, the customers, how long did it take people to really get in there? And I think they said initially, many of them had about a 50% adoption rate, so people jumped right in. And then it took a little longer for some others, and you probably have a few who don't ever want to do that.
But there are some things, even, for example, we didn't, they have like a display, a digital display that you could, put in the mail, mail rooms, those kind of things that would let people know what's going on. Pull out, different things that we could have up there that we don't have to go and put our.
And there are training modules available for members too, so they can,
Yeah, that's gonna be a big issue.
I got a question. With the $9.99, that's when they start to create the database, correct? Once we flip the supposed switch, that's when the 2 years starts?
Yeah, I mean, basically it starts when we sign the agreement and they start that 2 week, it's roughly like a 2 week timeframe that they import our data that we'll export from our Access database. And so at that point, while they're importing and setting up what they call the membership unit file, we'll be training the office and the staff on what they need to know in order to use it. And in addition to that, what's really going to be critical, which I think what you guys are alluding to, is that we'll have to have a lot of communication with members to explain like, hey, here's this new application. Granted, you don't have to download the app, you can still go to the website, but like what you get from the application is so much better because you can register your guests or whatever things that we decide to implement. And the reason that we're recommending a phased implementation is because we don't want to overwhelm both the office and our members with too much change all at one time.
Question.
Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, so just my first thought is this is new. We have people that are really in sync with this as they built towards this great thing, and I wholeheartedly in favor of this. The benefits alone on communication are going to pay dividends. The ACC piece is huge. I guess something I'd like to see before you flip the switch, write the check, and start the process is who's going to own these things. So there's a certain amount I think the office, maybe Penny will own here. I think it's going to be important that we have security, whether it's Randall or it's a trustee working with Randall or whatever it takes place. So we don't have one or two people trying to handle each of these as they come up. It needs to be the users using it to be, I think, a part right at the initial drawdown of this thing. And maybe that's something that we could lose some real time on if we don't kind of plan and build that. Maybe you guys have. So in a form of a question, what are we doing there as far as implementation?
Yeah, so we've been working very closely with Andy, and Andy's been having a lot of conversations with his staff, but I don't know if you know this, Steve, but I'm retired now, and I've told Andy that I'm committed
Good for
to
you.
helping the staff implement this because I want to make sure that they get what they need and that we help to make sure that membership understand what we're doing and how it can help them.
I just see with the ownership piece, the package thing, if we help our security staff, the package people take ownership of it right at the beginning, I think the learning curve will be stronger and the pride and the initiative, them wanting to learn and run with it, you know, is going to be invaluable instead of us trying to catch them up later on it. Just a thought.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And we even talked with the condo control about having like I'll call like a test lab. It wouldn't really be a test lab, but they would give us, you know, basically a test module that, so maybe for a 24-hour period, if the office staff wanted to go in and just kind of play with some things as good security, so you could have them begin to get a little more comfortable with it prior to, oh, this is mine now, kind of thing, you know, it's like, yeah.
Add to the communication piece, Steve and the rest of the group that's here. We even we talked a little bit about training videos that we could produce for our employees, for our members. And they can be very simple, but just kind of a step-by-step process that they would go through to use the software. We did that when I was at the university, where we took our employees, you know, by the hand and our maintenance and, you know, facilities operations, and we said, all right, this may be new to you, but here's how this works in a step-by-step process. And at first they were a little leery of it, and I can imagine people would be. Change is always very, very hard, but at the same time, they embraced it within a couple weeks. I don't know, I wish I had this a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I think that's.
And making sure we implement it in a real busy time for the office and or others, so that we're kind of timing that. Yeah.
What do you mean not big?
I mean, not high, but higher volume. Let's put it that way, higher volume. So,
I think too, it makes our stuff, and only people who are assigned can get in. Because right now, for example, anybody in Fairfield County can go on YouTube and watch this movie. And there's not a way to protect that with YouTube. But if you have to go into the system It may still link you to YouTube, however, it'll be a secure link, so that only people who have access to the link can get there. So that might be good as well.
Hey, you had mentioned that it would require them to get a smartphone for security. I assume all of our current hardware, PCs, everything are capable of, so there's nothing added that we need additional there. And then second, who supports our access database?
And that company, that consultant.
Yeah, because that's been a huge problem in the past with a member or a member's brother that did it, and then the member leaves and holds the keys to the car, and so we need to make sure that we're,
It's a good
that's
question.
in our
All I
way.
know is a consultant, but so I don't know.
Again, probably the reason why we're in favor of this management software is because then someone else with a professional, I shouldn't say, someone outside the hills would be, would be monitoring this, backing this up and so forth, rather than, consultant that.
But I mean, we said we're gonna keep the access database.
For a time, yes.
Somebody talking? I can't hear.
So what do you want to do?
Hey, Andy?
Yeah.
Within the employee part, I know we're gonna kind of come into that later. Within that, is there a mechanism for training, recording training, things like this for our employees? Because right now we have
Yes.
nothing like that.
I believe that they do have the capability to do that, as well as it's something that we would probably have to produce as well. Andy, can you elaborate on that? I think we talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, they already have a lot actually of online training that they've produced for other customers of theirs, but they'll do custom stuff for us if we need it. And then on top of that, like I said, I'm here to help the office and the team as
Okay.
much as we need to. So I'm not.
I'm
not
thinking
concerned
training
about that.
outside of the system training. I'm saying if we would train our employees on required OSHA programs and documenting that training, is there an avenue to record that kind of training?
Oh, sorry. No, we're not
We can
looking
click.
to, we're not looking to have an recording mechanism. So I think we continue to do, we do today with YouTube or other online recording solutions, like if we're looking to record training for our staff.
Now, okay, we'll talk about it offline. No, I'm talking about required OSHA training that our employers are required to have, and us as employees to train them, and just a mechanism to train and show that we have trained those people as far as record keeping on, or is it just
Yeah,
strictly
Steve,
maintaining
we're not-
vacation time
weren't-
and hours?
We weren't looking to do any kind of staff management. This wasn't, the search we did is more intended to serve the members and help them with the bigger things that they contact our staff about.
So the answer is no.
You know what?
No, we're not looking to do online training
No, I was just
for
checking.
OSHA stuff, because quite frankly, that's really not what we're looking to do.
But I think the nice part with this company, and one of the reasons we kind of looked at them, if we see things that we think that we would want in the future, and it could be 5 years, 2 years, whatever, we could work with them, put it on their list and look at upgrades. So, but to your answer right now, Steve, the answer is no. But I think the thing we like is there are avenues that as we see opportunities, we could go that route.
I don't know, maybe
Okay.
certifications and things like that, just like
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah.
has a question. Eric Boysko, got his hand up.
Eric,
You're on mute.
you're muted, Eric. We see your hand or something waving. But you're muted.
You trying to
What
unmute?
is that? Is that his hand?
There.
All right.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was a question or Oh, well, he's gone now.
All right.
So, I don't know, Marty. I mean, we got to figure out a time when it would not be totally disruptive to us. Summer probably not a good time. So we kind of talked about.
So Lindo, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we've already talked about this and Andy had talked to the office about it, that October was probably the right time frame at the earliest, because we know that we've got the RFID project going on right now, and we want to make sure they get through that. Plus, summertime's a busy time for our staff, so October was the earliest we were going to consider to start this.
I did get Eric's question. He wanted to know if they raise their prices, and basically, do we own the data? So if, we were to say 2 years from now, or, like, we have our data. It's our data.
It isn't always the case.
Yeah.
We own the data.
Is that good, Eric?
So this is no Facebook.
No, we own the data.
Well, on the data, but you'll still have to have something to be able to use the data. So if we go away from them, the data's ours, but we won't have a system to use it. So
Right. We would have to go to.
it's not like we can just put it on a computer and all of a sudden it'd be back in ours.
No, but it sounds like most of these places, correct me if I'm wrong, Annie, they all integrate with the same kinds of other systems. So they integrate with QuickBooks, they all integrate. So, yeah, you have
Yeah.
expense in moving it somewhere,
But it's all open architecture.
Yeah.
and
Yes.
but
Yeah,
Yeah.
good deal.
Yep.
Are you ready to entertain a motion?
Make a motion?
Just, I do want to do one thing, I think, because, so Andy, you're thinking that October 2022, maybe November 2022 is where you'd want to implement. I think that's fine. That does kind of go back to Marty's question on paying for it. And again, and what does that do to our operating budget? Even though it's, whether or not it's a capital expense and whether, our capital fund isn't necessarily a capital expense. So there's no saying that we can't transfer money out of the capital fund to cover the first year. There's no saying that we couldn't transfer money out of the depreciation fund, because those are not hard and fast accounts. That's just a way for us to track our expenses. So Andy, with the budget the way you look and us needing to, if we approve this, we probably ought to talk about where you think the money should come from for year one, because it was not in the budget for 2022. And it can be, and obviously we can put it in the budget for 23 and on, but if we have to pay that on October 1, we need to know how that's going to affect cash flow and how that's going to affect and where that money's coming from, I think, before we vote on the purchase.
Well, that and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the 2-year negotiated price was $13K. And then the initiation fee was $999. What's all this come out to? $14,999 that way?
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
So I think initially, we were gonna look at, obviously, it's not coming out of operating at this point in time, because it's not in the budget. We're looking at that capital expense, but we need to look at it real close too. We do have other projects that are pending right now. So if we are healthy in our capital and our depreciation, but we're gonna remain healthy.
Yeah, I think at this point, yeah, we would recommend it comes out of capital.
Okay. And that is fine. I mean, that's legal. We can do that. I just wanted that discussion up front first.
Needed to happen. Yep.
Any other questions on the management software proposal?
Okay. If there's no other questions right now, I'd like to entertain If anyone would make a motion.
I would be happy to make a motion to purchase
second
the
it.
said program as described tonight with a fund and a pay date to be determined after, but to go ahead and lock the financing in or the financial piece of it in tonight.
I'll second.
Well, hang on a second. Don't you need a dollar amount to vote on? What is the official dollar amount?
Yeah, what was half the 24? Well, we have to actually, we need to vote on the full 2 years because we're committing to that, even though it's not all in this year. Yeah,
So amend the motion to include that dollar figure when somebody adds it up,
All right, let's go back to the,
at which point time's then going to take it over and it'll have to go to the board for approval.
$13.50 plus $9.99.
27,099.
How much?
$27,099. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Can I rescind or
You can adapt. Yeah, go ahead.
adapt my motion? Okay, so at that figure, then I wish the management committee to propose to the trustees for the purchase of this software program for the 2-year contract period.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Steve. Was that JJ with the quick second?
Yes.
All right. Any more discussion? Marty, all your questions answered?
Yeah, they are.
So the total then, in essence, is $14,049
for 1 year.
for 1 year.
I guess just the comment that if we're gonna target this fall, that we gotta stick to that timeline, not let it linger.
Sorry, Marty, I can't hear you at all.
I'm sorry, I just would ask that we stick with the timeline of this fall and not let it linger and not let it run into next year.
Amen to that, brother.
JJ, anything, any other questions for you, from you? Anything?
Good, thank you.
Steve, you made the motion. Any comments?
Nope, I love it. Let's go.
And Julie, you've been,
I'm good.
okay, I just want to say thank you. That was a very, that was a extremely professional process that we did, Annie, and you did it perfectly. And so, thank you very much. And so, all right, so we've got a motion on the table to approve the expenditure over 2 years of $27,099 for condo control, implementation and software as a service. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Okay, so I'll get that to our board report for next week, Chaz, and we'll ask that the board approve that.
Got it.
Nicely done, folks. Thank you.
I agree. Nice job, Andy. And team.
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely. Thank you.
thank you. Oh, she's turning into a robot at the right time. Okay, RFID update. Andy, are you ready?
Yeah, let me do just a real quick update on Lakes update.
Oh, did I miss that? Oh, I apologize. Thank you. Yep.
We're gonna have Steve Fender from Fender Fish Hatchery down here today, meet with Lakes Committee and Management Committee. And we had to reschedule due to other commitments and time schedules as well as the weather. As you all know, about 3 o'clock at quarter here, it wouldn't have been a good time to be out on the lake or looking at the lakes. So I'm in contact with him and we are rescheduling time for early this fall.
And Andy, when you do that, get at least a couple weeks notice. Yeah, I think it would be more successful. And in the meantime, Sue, I got your email before I came up. So it's status quo. We're not gonna do anything until we get this meeting accomplished. So, you know, it is, I realize it's a long process. And if letting it go the way it, you know, the way that it was is the better thing to do, then so be it, but we probably need to be out in the open about that. You know, it's according, if I understood the email correctly, it's really kind of healthy for the lake that, to have it that way. It's, the optics aren't great, but it's the natural course of action for a lake, at least one of that size and depth. So it's not detrimental, which is probably what we need to make sure everybody understands. Okay.
Any other questions on Lake?
Nope.
Okay, so the RFID update. As I had mentioned in my GM report, that the member and family guests decals are available at the security building by appointment only. So make sure that you start doing that and get ready. As far as the go live, I'm always a little hesitant to put a date out there, but I'm decided to go ahead and put a go live tentative date of Tuesday, September 13th. You probably wonder, why did I pick Tuesday, September 13th? Mondays are bad. Okay, so Tuesday. And it's after the holiday, after Labor Day, things are starting to start dying down. We just emphasize that if you do not have your decals, please get them and make an appointment with security. That's been a little slow. People have said, no, I'll just wait around. But please get your decals, and family guests are available now. Decals as well.
That it works now. Are you aware that the RFID is working?
Yes.
Okay.
It's,
Okay, because people have been calling me going, it works. Did you know that? And I tried it today and it did.
and we just went ahead and put a check today for Silco for not the whole amount, we're holding 10% back. So all their punch list
Back to the mic, Andy. Back to the mic.
Sorry. So we're looking at, we had a check today to Silco for the next amount, but we're retaining 10% for the change this project until all their punch list items are done. And some of those punch list items are still have to do with when we switch over. We can't have two frequencies at the same time. So that's being done at Silco. So that's where we are on that.
This is the official line in the stand. No more extensions, no more.
No. So I said tentative, but we're going to go live September 13th. So you need to have your decal. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck.
Or you can always come to us like, hey,
You can always go through the front.
Yeah. Always.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, Andy,
Yes.
you kind of were not real clear at the time. So what did you say about the member guests?
So the member.
Are the member guests ready to start?
Yes, so the member decals are available down there at the security building as well as family guest decals. They're doing by appointment only to get them installed.
Perfect.
Can we get rid of that appointment only thing? It seems a little onerous on the members. I mean, we should make it as easy as possible.
We did it appointment only because, especially during holiday weekends or major events and stuff too, they're just too busy down at the security building to go ahead and install decals and stuff too. And it has been working, but there are some people, maybe even flag down people, say, hey, I've got your decal here. And they need an appointment. I can install it for you now. And they're just like, no. So it's.
Where are we at percentage wise?
I think that we're probably at, the last time I checked, that it's been a couple weeks. And the family guest decals just started Monday. So they got them down there. They're already in the office and they brought them down to security. So I would say that we've probably got maybe half of the members. Now, we had the initial stuff with the management committee and board trustees. And that was a small percentage. That was about half the members. And then we've just got maybe 20% of the members. So we're still at, quarter, if not a little bit more. Probably about, I'm gonna say 40% still.
Any other
Any other
questions on RFID? Okay, road maintenance.
Yeah, so our road maintenance, as I mentioned too, the asphalt patching in areas to date, we're actually, we've got 156 tons that we have laid in areas of patching with Chickasaw, Lower Mohican, Yucatan Lane, Seneca Lane, Wolverine, and then just found out today that we have worked on upper and lower Fox Lane as well. And so 156 tons of patching road thus far. Our budget's around 30 grand. And we're about not quite halfway there. That's all I have right now.
So Andy, on that, so we're that 126, is that as of the first of the month, or is that to date?
That's today.
Okay, so does so yeah, we're we've got about 60% of what we budgeted to go. Rick feel comfortable that he's going to be able to get that done by roughly September 15?
Yeah, they've been working on it continuously throughout these weeks. They've got a pretty good schedule down. We've had some comments like, why haven't we hit these certain roads? They're doing their best in evaluating the roads as they go along. And hitting those places where it's almost don't have any road. So your patience is appreciated, but we are they're moving around schedule. Pretty comfortable with that.
So in essence, the 126 tons of cost 15K.
A little under 50. Yes.
Okay, I've seen the work and they're doing a nice job of getting some structure added on and getting prepped for either overlay this year or getting really prepped up for chip seal next year. And so that's really good. This was a good move by Rick to kind of work his plan this way this year. Any other questions on the road maintenance? Steve, any golf course information that you can give us?
Where's the mower?
So the mower, we were told that it was supposed to be here in 2 weeks, or actually our last, it was a board trustees meeting. They've all run together. We found out from a vendor, actually we found out from Baker Equipment, we were getting this from. They were going to charge us $7,000 in freight. And we said, no, you're not. And we called a vendor, our account representative, and said, you need to work this out. This is the price that we bought it at. They said, you're absolutely right. So they're in the process of negotiating. And we're not fitting the bill. So that's why we don't have a mower right now.
All right, hadn't heard anything on that. I know it's a topic of interest. I'll be happy to take Marty up anytime and he can drive it home.
It's out of New Philadelphia, Ohio, east of here. Past Cambridge.
7K to get from Philadelphia.
I think that they were originally charging us from wherever it came from to Baker Equipment and then to us. Baker Equipment said they didn't want to absorb the cost. And we said, well, we already have it on the bottom line. And so they, I just began a vendor has been every week. Still negotiating, still talking, and so forth. I thought we could pick it up ourselves.
We say if it gets down to needing picked up, we'll get it picked up. Golf course itself's running good. Probably our biggest shortfall again is water. Mother Nature's been very kind to us this year, and probably Elmer's been doing a couple rain dances. He has been seen in a headdress and trouncing around number 9 green a few times, but I think we're holding our own here this year. Again, that's one of our projects, long range planning. We need to keep on the forefront. He's worked really hard to keep disease off the greens. We still have some issues this year on a couple greens, but it's not due to the lack of him going through this process. It's just different mixes, different types of fungicides and things that he's using and trying to get the right timing on each one of them. So I think for the course we have, it's marvelous shape. And again, kudos to those guys. I think getting the trees in order so we don't have somebody hurt on the course is outstanding. I know that there could be some pushback, I think, from some people, but it's done in the act of safety, and disease and dead trees have no reason to be out there. So all in all, I think the course is going really strong, and geez, I hope we can get to fairway more soon.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Any questions? All right, Marty, can you give us a little more detailed update on the Lodge Electrical?
Yeah, sure. And as Andy mentioned earlier, we had a meeting a few weeks ago, check out their electric, and we did drawings, do the locations outside of the building. So really, what's going to happen is the main service panel is on the outside of the building going forward, so it's out of the basement here. And what that did is it kind of presents, allow me to share. Yeah, it presents kind of a safety issue on the outside of the lodge that we need to look at, and I want to start that conversation now. And so once I get the ability to share, I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Sure enough.
Yeah. Okay.
I got it. Good.
All right.
Yep.
So the area over here in red, that's the area that we're going to be installing the new equipment out there, right? So there's the distribution panel, there's an automatic transfer switch, which will switch power from normal source to an emergency source. And then we also have the transformer that's going in that area. And we're gonna have room for an emergency generator. And so what that does is you'll see, I mean, and obviously, and I apologize for my lack of artistic ability out here, but it's gonna run right up against that road that goes through there, so that there's going to be an area in this area where the equipment's at is going to be down several feet below the road level. So there's an issue with maybe cars going through there, things like that. So what we're looking at, we want to again start a conversation on this. You see that blue arc is to reroute the road from in front of the clubhouse to behind the parking lot, kind of following that blue arc. So that what that does is that it removes that issue of having all that equipment, something below there, that could get hit by a car could run off the road in there, just a lot of bad things. But it also gives us a good advantage too, in that we can expand the parking area up there. We can move the handicap parking up closer to the building where it really needs to be, so that we become, more compliant with the ADA on that. But this is, again, this is the proposed solution, and I wanted to get that out here now before we really got any further and, see what do we need to do to make this happen, or, what are the other comments, questions, things like that. I mean, just kind of open it up for a discussion out
Marty, I think that's an elegant solution. I think it gives you the chance to make the front entrance of the lodge a lot more attractive. And like you say, to get some close-in parking to help ADA. And really the cost is pretty minimal because we've already got a road there. We probably want to schedule that section in on an overlay for next year, just to get, because it's really parking lot. The only thing I would say is there were those shrubs are that are screening the dumpster. That'd be nice to get maybe a little more fencing, a little more screening in there, but I think that's an elegant solution to what you're coming up with. It's good.
So maybe I'm a little confused here. So you're advocating the road that leads in front of the lodge to be abandoned?
Yes.
Okay. And everything would just move forward as far as parking is concerned?
Well, what it does, we'd have to take a look at that, right? So you could definitely move the handicap parking forward, right? We could put that right upside the walkway, you know, so that they can go up there. The other issue that, or thing that, you know, that will happen is that the existing transformers are on that pole that are out there on that island. Right, kind of, it's hard to see where the cursor is here, but right there. So those are gonna go away. And if we can get the communication companies to bury their stuff, then those poles totally go away. So that this whole area is freed up, all this grass area. And so we have everything with the existing parking lot, plus everything in front of it all the way to the lodge. You know, that we can work with there. So
I kind of like that idea because I mean, in spite of the fact that we've done everything in the way of speed bumps and God knows what else to try to slow people down coming down through there, they don't do it. I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah.
So if we eliminate that traffic, you know, at the entrance, I mean, I think that's a positive.
It was an opportunity to do more gathering area, maybe out in the front, rather than the table. It just gives us an opportunity for expansion. I think that's what we're-
yeah, because we really, I mean, we're very limited on where we can put the equipment. With just the layout of everything else. I mean,
Does all that get surrounded by bollards and
there'll be a fence around it.
yeah. I mean, so that
And we're gonna do, you know, one of the things, once we finish the layout on it, we need to look at the fencing and look at the elevations too. Because I think we were talking about going down a few feet so that you're not gonna see everything, right? You only see anything that's above whatever that final grade is. We don't have that information right now, and that's what they're still working out. But,
looking at how they were being all, you know, all the more reason why you want to redirect traffic in a different direction. Right? Because, not only would it be fenced, but a little bit of a drop off.
Yeah.
So it's a safe.
it's definitely a safety issue going on.
if that's what takes to get emergency power to the lodge. I think that's pretty, so. I do.
I agree. You know, and one of the questions too is, you know, go down this path. How do we do that? I mean, I think it's totally, we come up with, you know, figure out what we need to do out there, or just make it happen, or.
Good question. I don't,
But that's why we're asking now, right? Because.
yeah,
it's
because
gonna
I don't
take
know
time.
if that's platted stuff. You know, I mean,
Right.
I got to dig into, what's the timeline?
We're looking, it'll be next year. You know, we don't have the exact lead times, but the last time we looked at the site, I think so, it was like 3 weeks or something like that. So
We have a meeting scheduled for August 30th with Area Electric. They're going to get us back the numbers. Because we did ask, they put the option in there, but they originally we were like, on our budget, but then we said, well, give us some numbers and availability, timeline, availability. And so we should have a better, good, I think by August 19th, they said they would have numbers to us so we can discuss it, and then August 30th, just review those numbers.
And his plan was to be able to have a more in-depth presentation for the September management. And then we could also bring it to the board to show them what's going on, the following. That's our thought process on that.
But as Marty said, we're going to bring us the management committee's attention now and say, hey, I'm thinking about this, because rather than thinking it down the road and saying, oh, by the way, I would like to. Any other comments online, questions, discussion items?
None here.
Marty, can you get me an aerial picture of that? Or can you get me, send me that?
Yeah, I can email it. Sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Andy, I lost the ability to see. Oh, there it came. Okay, so now we got anything else on Lodge Electrical? Any questions? All right, JJ Food Service report.
Mine's kind of boring compared to that. We, comedy night did very well for the food service committee. We bought in over $1,400. Fortunately, we don't have anything scheduled for August, but we're looking to gear some things up in September and October. As soon as I get some things put out there and approved by the board, we'll get it on the calendar. But it was a pretty quiet month, except for Denny Hall and the comedians, which did very well.
Thank you. And again, I keep hearing nothing but good comments coming out of food service. So from the customers. So thank you. Any questions or comments for JJ? Anything anybody needs to add before I make a little final comment? Marty, you good?
I'm good.
JJ?
Good.
Miss Julie?
Good.
Steve?
I'm good.
And Chaz?
Yes, sir.
And Andy, you all right? Everything good? Okay. So I want to thank everybody as was sent out through an email blast, I think earlier, or I guess last week. This is my last meeting as chair of the management. We did actually accepted an offer on the cabin, so close date would be, is it planned for August 31? So that was kind of what was expected. So I hope that happens, and which is good, because that brings in another new member fee for you guys, and that's good. I want to thank all of, not only you, I mean, especially you all on the management committee and Andy and their team. I want to thank everybody in the Hills. We are going to miss y'all. And I really hope for the best for everybody. Please call me if you need any consultation on your roads, because I'd love to stay involved with that. I won't charge you a thing. And so I'll be staying active until 8/31. And I look forward to hearing great things about what y'all are doing moving forward. One project I was going to start working through, and I hope someone will pick it up, is we really need to look at increasing the road, the yearly road assessment. Costs are going up, needs are going up, and $200 a year per member is not cutting it. So that needs to be looked at. So thank you all very much. And I think we'll adjourn. Do we have any executive session?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So Thank you. We'll adjourn the open portion of the meeting. All of you, thank you for joining in, and we'll move ourselves into whatever you call it, the breakout room.
To today's unanimous ruling by a federal appeals court, the House Ways and Means Committee to obtain Trump's tax return.
I was told by the board last time, but I thought and so the board recommended I come to the answer to you guys, so I would like to email to you guys to set up a time where we talk outside of this meeting and kind of maybe get into what needs to happen.